Hi there, this is Mike Ram of Weight Loss and Personal Development. And today I want to talk to you about 4 illusions that people have about life. Now, this is all received wisdom from a couple called Stacey and Paul Martino, who I've been listening to on the subject of relationship counselling and how to get a relationship to work. Now, these people have phenomenal success in their brand of relationship healing because they only use one of the partnership. It only takes one person in a partnership to heal a relationship, and they have a phenomenal success rate. Their failure rate is about 1%, I think. That's the figure that was quoted when I first heard them. Whereas the average failure rate of marriage guidance counsellors is something like 85%. Basically, you go and see a marriage guidance counsellor, you may as well kiss your relationship goodbye. It's not going to improve as a result, and really, if you watch footage of these things, you can understand why. Because automatically, one person in the partnership, very often the male, is put on the back foot so fast that, the relationship is struggling from the beginning, and it's all about a blame game. So this method obviously works, and I've been listening to a certain amount of their stuff on a freebie I got from them for doing a challenge earlier in the month, and this is phenomenal stuff. It's really good personal development stuff, so I'll give it to you straight. The first illusion is that you can control anything. You can't control anything except what goes on in your own mind. The second one is that when something doesn't work for you, when you've tried really hard to make something work, you haven't failed, because you can't ever fail, except in one circumstance. The third is that there's something in your past that is still influencing your present, that is stopping you living the life that you want, although it came in the past. And the fourth one is that you can get away from having problems. The fact is that problems are always there, but I'll say a bit more about that later. So the first one. The first illusion is that you can control anything. You may think you can control things. In fact, you're leading yourself well up the garden path. You can't control events, unless they are events that you are putting on, you're directly responsible for, your input is so massive. If it's something that entirely down to you, then yes, you can control it because you're the person in charge, but otherwise you can't. And things tend to just go on whether we like it or not. Like the weather goes on. If it's raining tomorrow, I can't do a damn thing about it, and that's obvious. I can't stop the sun from rising and setting. I can't stop my planet moving round and round. Those sort of things. They're so obvious, but most of the rest of life is rather like that. How somebody decides to behave on any one day, I can't control that. I can influence it if I influence it correctly, but I can't actually control it. I can't control another person. Although there are people that always try and control other people, and God knows, if you don't know one of these people, you haven't lived, because they're called control freaks, and they're always trying to control things going on. And if you're a parent, you can't control children, as you probably discovered. You can try to stop them doing things, and you can lay down markers, and you can stop them doing things up to an extent, but you can't control them. And if you try and control somebody, like they become your creature, your plaything, the chances are they're just looking for an opportunity to get away from you. they don't really want to stay under your thumb for very long. You know, it's just not natural unless they're strangely subservient and subdominant, you know, in which case they may just get a masochistic hit out of it and you're not actually controlling it, you're stroking their stomach. Now the second thing is that you can never fail. The fact of the matter is you may not have succeeded yet at doing something, but until you're sort of a day away from death, or, you know, it's so obvious that you're in a terminal condition, you haven't failed. You're still alive, you're still breathing, you can go and do whatever you want to. Now, the confusion over this is probably because we get told in our lives from a very early age that there's failure and success, and that if you've passed a certain mark in a test or something, or a piece of work, then you've passed, and if you haven't, then you've failed. And failure is seen as something quite unnatural. The way that failure is dealt with in schools, in the education system, is quite terminal actually to people's chances, because it gets taken on board, because people get separated into successes and failures. Life does that as well, you know, in a lot of ways, but these sort of things get carried on from childhood, and a lot of people grow up in the belief that if you fail at something once, you're a failure in that area and it becomes a mark of your personality. This is very, very dangerous. And ever since I've been doing personal development, I've unlearned things that I learned when I was growing up. I mean, I was lucky in a way. I was always successful, but I never really learned how to cope with failure until later in life, when I did fail and I didn't quite know how to get out of continuing to fail, but that's another story. But the fact of the matter is, when you look around at people who are trying to do things, get things done, if people had actually given up after their first attempt at do something really tremendous, like Thomas Edison or Walt Disney or Colonel Sanders or a whole host of people, think of various authors, rock bands, artists trying to get recognition, or just scientists. You know, we have one going on at the moment when they're trying to find a vaccine. You know, their trials are based on the fact that some of the trials will be failures, and that's just taken into account. You know, that's how you develop a vaccine. You know, you don't succeed straight away, and eventually they'll come up with a vaccine that works. Or going back to Thomas Edison, he had 10,000 goes at creating a light bulb. Can you believe that? I mean, the guy had some sort of stamina. Or Walt Disney, I think it's 323 people he went round trying to get those people to buy into his vision of doing cartoons. And you know how much Walt Disney and his empire has influenced the world. I mean, it's absolutely massive. And then Colonel Sanders, he went round over 100 outlets trying to sell them his recipe for fried chicken. You know, and eventually, you know, it's sort of a worldwide franchise that multi-billions. I mean, you know, whether you like it or not, you see these outlets everywhere. And, you know, some people, if they're convinced of something, they will go on and on and on until they succeed. It doesn't matter whether they fail or not. They don't take it to heart. They just carry on because they're convinced they can do it. They know that they can do it because it can be done, and they're going to do it, and it's worth it. You have to think at the end of the day that you're doing it is worth it, that your success in whatever area it is would be worth it. And quite frankly, this is a much healthier way of looking at things, you know. Failure is just feedback. It merely means that what your result is telling you that you have to alter something in your approach, that you have to do something slightly differently. I won't say better, but differently. and then you may actually alight on success. And now the third illusion is that our past is really influencing, that something in our past is stopping us behaving as we would. Look, it's an event, say, that happened 40 years ago. Now, it may absolutely have been horrendous, terrible, terrifying, mega abuse, all those things, absolutely rotten. And a lot of people carry these things around with them, these experiences around with them for life. But there are various responses you can take for this. You know, a couple of people who have been through the same thing in life may respond to that episode, the result of it, completely differently, whereby one person falls prey and victim to the results of it and just has a miserable time, and the other one says, I'm not going to let this beat me. Yeah, I had that bad experience. I'm not going to let it beat me. I'm going to actually show them. And they become successful. They haven't let their past actually dictate their present. And it's all down to the story you tell yourself about the episode, and not to minimise, you know, what some people go through, because it's absolutely terrible. And, you know, you take your hat off to them, they get anywhere at all. But the fact of the matter is, it's down to the sort of story you tell yourself. That if you tell yourself that, you know, you're traumatized for life, you can't do anything, you can't live, then you're sort of sentencing yourself to a miserable future. Whereas if you tell yourself that in spite of everything that's gone on, you are going to succeed in whatever it is you want to succeed at, then you'll do okay. And that's the bottom line. It's down to what you tell yourself, how you view it in your mind. And then this notion that there's going to be a time in the future that you're never going to have any problems. It's rather like saying there's going to be a time in the future when we're going to have summer, and we'll have summer, and we'll have summer, and we'll always have summer, and summer will go on forever. I don't know where you're living if you think that. You know, okay, I live in the UK and it's very seasonal, so I understand seasons quite well, but other places all have seasons as well, you know, whether it looks the same or not. You know, in fact, winter in most of the Indian subcontinent is the pleasantest time of year, because in the hottest time of the year, which would be summer, it's just raining the whole time. It's going through monsoon. Whereas winter is great. You know, you get the odd bit of rain. The weather dips down around the December solstice, but otherwise, you know, you're set fair. And it's, you know, for travellers, it's a great time to visit that area. You know, everywhere has some sort of seasonal differentiation, whatever the temporal conditions are. By temporal, I mean meteorological. And so it is with human lives. You know, there's a winter when things are bad, you have problems. Then there's a spring, you come out of the problem. Then there's summer, the problem's gone and you're feeling great. Then there's autumn, and a problem starts to come in again. I mean, you have several cycles going on at the same time in human life. You don't just have this one problem that keeps circulating, of course. So that's not brilliantly explained. But problems have a cycle, and somebody explained it once and said that you're either coming out of a problem and free of it, or you're just going into a problem, or you're in the middle of dealing with it. And maybe that's the best way of looking at it. You know, yin and yang, plus minus. You can't have one quality without its opposite. You can't have light without dark. You can't have happy without sad. You can't have angry without pleased, and so forth. You know, life is about contrast, so don't kid yourself that you're going to have anything different. Anyway, I thought I'd bring you those bits of teaching. I was sort of only sort of came across it recently, but I think it's valuable for people to be told that, and sort of I feel like I wanted to spread it around. So I hope that's useful to you, and thank you for listening, and hopefully catch you on another one. And if you like this video, give me a like, subscribe to my channel if you like, and I will put a URL for a free product that I'm offering in the weight loss niche, which is my specialist niche. And please, if you feel like receiving a PDF on basic tips to help you on your weight loss journey, to make your journey a little bit easier, then please go and get that. And thank you for listening and watching. Bye for now.